Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah.
Shout out to Dragonade. Dragonade's mom in the studio. I think he has like an automation to always be present. That's in the box thinking right there.
That is box thinking. Good stuff.
Excuse me, bitch?
Yes, my automation is called my mother calling me to wake me up in the morning. Mm-hmm. Or just me waking up right now because I'm waking up early. I was actually there, I assure you. If I'm there, I'm actually there. I don't self-bot. Doing that can actually get you banned on Discord. No thanks.
Well, his like fake support is appreciated. We needed that desperately in the week he was gone.
No, we were like totally out of our element. I was scrambling. I was like, how do you use Audacity again?
Seriously. So what's good, dude? What are you up to?
Oh, just enjoying the day off. Also getting small prep ready for me to fly out and meet the fam over in Korea. Fly out like a couple days before July 4th. So just getting last minute things ready. Bunch of presents for the most part. Bringing the friends and family over there. How about you, dude?
Good shit, man. Yeah, we're going away like around the same time doing the family thing. First week of July. So we're off for the whip that week. So it looks like everything lined up pretty well for that. No, it's good, dude. I'm trying to take my own advice. I forget who I was talking to in DMs about. It's still sort of processing trip to Lisbon in a lot of ways, man. And I was talking to you yesterday about how I'm like trying to use this summer to do a few things, man. I'm like revamping my home office a little bit, which has always been just sort of like a hodgepodge of just like things that have made its way in there over the years. And, went to Lisbon and came back with a bunch more like cool shit and cool art and everything from all these cool people. And I'm like, damn, dude, my office should be like as legit as the space that I'm in with all this cool stuff that I've accumulated over the years, like actually hanging on the walls and like this kind of thing. So I'm trying to set the stage, man. I feel like, I've always said I'm not going anywhere, and I know I'm not going anywhere, but like, also, it always seemed like so surreal, that it even got to this point in the first place. But now I'm like, fuck it, dude, I'm digging my heels in. I'm revamping the whole office. I'm trying to take some of my own advice, about like, slowing down a little bit, not necessarily like, leaving anything, but sort of what we were talking about last week about dialing it back over the summer. And I was like, the whip, the podcast, and I'm like full steam ahead planning Rizzlefest for October. I'm like, that's all the shit I really want to do over the summer. Like that's enough. My kids are off school. Wifey's working a little bit, and so I'm trying to get into like a nice flow, man, where I'm like, and this is something I haven't been able to do very well, where I like sort of am present, but like not like all or nothing present, sort of like doing the things that I love, but also making time to like touch grass and do other shit as well.
Yeah, I mean, focusing on fewer things. Like I'm just aligning and trying to subscribe to that philosophy more and more, because I think that is the winning way, right? You can't spread yourself too thin. You optimize for the best stuff, focus on fewer things, and we just have the benefit of the things we focus on end up exposing us to like that larger kind of like activity that you see like pop up on the timeline. So amen to your approach.
Like, here's the trap that I fall into, though, and that I have to be like constantly like conscious of, is that, I make space to do other things, but like, you and I both fell into this space by being like super fans of it and loving it in the first place. So inherently I clear my plate for other things, end up with free time. In my free time, I stumble upon new cool things around here that I hadn't had time to look into before. And I'm like, ooh, neat. now I have time to explore things that I didn't have time to explore before. And then like the whole cycle repeats itself. And suddenly I'm down like, 10 new wormholes cranking out like AI songs and like all this shit. And it's fun, man. But I'm trying to make a more conscious, time to be away, time to be present type of thing. Cause I just get sucked into things, man. And, again, man, I saw Ash, release make some Twitter thread about like some new world building engine he's creating and everything, and I'm like, holy fucking crap, dude. Like, these are people I consider to be like friends and acquaintances, just like casually dropping wizard bombs like left and right like all the time, and it's really difficult not to as a fan of a lot of people I've become friends with, you see someone who you admire and appreciate doing something, and also now they're like a homie, and it's like, I don't know, how do you avoid continuously jumping down these things? And I think the answer is you don't, man. You just gotta like block off time to not type of thing.
Yeah, dude, I saw that tweet you're talking about from Ash, and I'm like, first thought, every time I see him talk about some very cool shit is when can we hear you talk? I know like time zones. Dude, F real. With him. But based on what you understand, based on what you saw in that tweet thread, how do you imagine that to affect folks that have been building in Hyperfire, any of that good stuff? Or do you think that this is going to lead to like a totally different end product for folks to use?
Yeah, I don't.
The thing that stuck out to me was just the volume. Like, I don't know how many of those were NPCs, or I don't know how he was simulating that level of activity in that crowd. But yeah. Tell me.
Yeah, something about the way that it renders down our frame rates as you get like farther away, so it allows for a smoother experience or something like that. Like this is the type of shit that I'm like, sometimes I'm like, dude, just like honored to be amongst this crowd, man. I'm like, shit, dude. Sometimes these people speak like another language. Jin is another one who we constantly reference, man, who's like doing the most wild, like brilliant shit with open voxels and, porting all these wearables and everything. In terms of Ash's shit, man, I don't know exactly how it plays out in the long run. And whether this is something that's going to be rolled into Hyperfy, or if it's this own like separate alpha test thing he's working on. I'm not sure how it plays out, but dude, the thing that I love about Ash is sort of like a lone wolf in a lot of respects as well, man, and is sort of like doesn't seem very interested in taking on funding, sort of has an edge to some of his posts. He's like, sort of got this attitude where his like, little, I say little but not to trivialize it, but his, sort of indie project is, way more advanced and sophisticated and, fun and relevant than a lot of things that a lot of people have put a lot of time and energy into. And so I love that when Ash just like, sort of does something like that. And just, I don't know, man, his posts just have a way of like, he's just sort of flexing it in a way that's like, yeah, I'm doing this. Like, how come nobody else has figured this out by now? And but dude is brilliant, man. And Hyperfly is like a reflection of that. It's still so far beyond a lot of parcels, but what he's working on addresses a lot of the problems that cut across a lot of platforms, man, just in terms of like scaling, the amount of things being able to be put in world seamlessly, like, moving them around, dropping them in, changing in and out of VRMs. I mean, you and I both know it's a problem once you get a certain amount of people in any platform and they start swapping out of like high res VRMs or just VRMs of different shapes and sizes. That's been like I know a barrier for crypto voxels in particular, because they've been talking about VRM import for a long time, but they got a good thing going with their like standardized avatars, and uncorking VRMs is like a whole nother thing. So I don't know, man. Ash is one of these people like similar to Jin, who I get the sense does a lot of work that a lot of people take a look at and they, do the exact same thing in a slightly different variation and repurpose it for themselves, and is very much a trailblazer in a lot of the stuff that he does. So uh in terms of his own stuff, I don't know how it plays out, but I get the sense this is the type of thing that like will have broader implications, because this is stuff that everyone wants to be able to do, and I'm assuming not everything is compatible with the programming that he's using for it and everything, but this is like an age-old historic problem that he just posted a Twitter thread about, and it's like, yo, look at what I did. This is what everyone was like, the what's it called, the ape tour or whatever. They've done like 2 or 3 ape tours, and everyone
Oh
was like,
yeah, Otherworld.
and the biggest thing everyone talks about is like, oh my god, there's so many people moving around like simultaneously, and that massive project did that like a couple times, and Ash isn't doing it on that scale per se, but you can see where this is headed, and the fact that he's just doing it, and on his, I just love that mentality, man. There's so much of that like cavalier, like I'm just gonna forge ahead into uncharted territory of my own regardless of who's with me, kind of vibe around here, and it's so good, man. He's got to get his ass on the whip.
No, he really does. Like, it's overdue at this point. And just going through that thread, it looks like he did all of that crazy. We'll link to the thread so folks can actually see what we're talking about, because you have to see it to really understand how crazy it actually potentially can be. Just regular JavaScript. And I like when he let folks in the thread know that, they're like, what the F, dude, you're cracked. No, but with the crowds, it looks exactly like what we're looking for, and it seems like it's just a better tool to drag and drop objects for like more rich, immersive experiences that you can program, like with the scripting capability for like individual objects. Which individual objects, Hyperfly, like last week when Cypher Dudes was on, like the in world was ridiculous. You threw so much in there, and I'm just on a MacBook Pro. Not like nothing was crashing. I could still see everyone's avatars. Even I wasn't even on like the lowest of low settings graphic wise. It's just so performant compared to anywhere else, and it's click and play, so simple. Like Wallet Connect, all the like the crypto integrations work so smooth still. Like with crypto voxels now, my gripe is I mean, I need to check today to see if this is still the case. It changes all the time, to be fair. Wallet Connect disappeared, so I was just like unable to log in on like another computer using like a mobile wallet. Like I need to go back to very specific rig to enter crypto voxels, and it's like, less friction, not more to get to the things. So,
Man.
Shout out Ash, and then also shout out Ben. Didn't want that to be like a critique, but it does highlight a big distinction though, and what like is working, at least for like one type of user that jumps into the virtual spaces.
Yeah, dude, I've come to love Ben. I've like come sort of full circle on, not that I never not loved Ben, but I was very frustrated by some of the decisions made and everything, but and we've talked about this before a little bit, man, how like Ben's just so rogue, and like he's got his own flavor, and I've come to appreciate that, like this, Ben, this is like very much Ben's project, and sometimes a lot of people want Ben to do certain things, but Ben's very much like, well, I really want to see this, and that's what he decides to focus on, much to like everyone's frustration and everything, but as we're having this conversation, man, I'm like, all the coolest shit, it comes from people like that. You know what I mean? Like these like sort of rogue, like independent creators, Ash, Jin, Felix, the Cypher Dudes crew, like, and we've seen a lot of these rogue independent creators, get scooped up by, companies and, different larger conglomerates and everything. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I do feel like that's where like the innovation sort of stops. And then like, things start to be like streamlined and repackaged and repurposed, and for, a larger audience, but man, the highest form of like innovation around this space really seems to come from our circle of people and the adjacent circles like directly outside of that and everything. And the common denominator, man, really seems to be like none of these people really want to do anything but exactly what they want to do, and they are down with people who support their vision and everything. But uh and there's not a whole lot of co-opting them to be done, man. Who knows how many opportunities Jin had to do like some big brain shit for whoever he wanted to, with how far out in front he is and everything. But he that would probably stifle him, and he's constantly like on the bleeding edge picking at shit that like nobody, if there's a bunch of funding on the table, nobody's going to throw funding at that because there's no path forward that's going to be a proven revenue model or be like, this is how I'm going to recoup my income or whatever. And I feel like it's the same for a lot of this bleeding edge shit, man. It's like too risky. It's too out there for anyone to actually want to throw money at. But once the shit is in orbit and in the wild, everyone's paying attention and everything. And this is where like, all the real dope shit comes from. And I don't know, man, it's just sort of interesting, like, especially as the space has evolved, how, a lot of those people have sort of stuck by that mantra and are still just like cranking out incredible contributions, man. I'm just constantly blown away by a lot of these people, including Ben, man. Like Ben, for all the knocks against him and some of the stuff with crypto voxels, like, dude, the reason we're still talking about crypto voxels is because of Ben, and his vision in the first place, and it's maintained its relevancy and is still a topic of conversation. And if it sucked that badly, man, we would have written it off like a lot of things that don't even come up in conversation anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, +1 to everything that you said. And the way that the indie VR space, which like I don't know if we want to like rebrand, but I'm just gonna call it our space, our neck of the woods in like the virtual ecosystem, the independent side of the space. It's all the experimentation, it's all the little things, and just like the different sorts of levers that folks have to interact with to create their own experiences versus the more commercial or I'm not sure actually of the phrasing at this point, but very like much more specifically focused virtual projects, like it's called in the game category or the game vertical, that are super specific. And I think there's trade-offs on both sides. There's definitely just very specific games that people live in, and then there's other folks that can't live in games, and I think the spillover for them in these like more independent worlds is more beneficial, and different flavors for different folks. But I was just reading, it's kind of like mind-blowing because the very specific gaming focused side of VR I hadn't really kept close tabs on, but there's a few folks over on the Purple app that I've been following, like Jordan Kutzer, who apparently also is Portland based but works in the VR industry and shares a lot of like I guess more commercial VR industry metrics and things like this, and basic games, like places that really don't look that much different from Hyperfi, but are just specifically geared towards gaming. Like for example, Gorilla Tag, they're doing like 9 figures in revenue from in-app purchases and things like that. It's crazy, right? Like, so I don't know what that means for the independent side. Like, we're just close. We're creating ingredients that other folks are just selecting a few of to create concentrated, potent experiences that are driving money. But it's close by. We're in the same neighborhood, and the fact that there's like, and a lot of people were very surprised to see like those sorts of revenue figures, like driven from the Quest Store and things like that for games like that. So I don't know. We're close by to very rich neighborhoods, and proximity counts for a lot when it comes to like new ideas, new tech, and things like that. So it seems bullish, and I love the optionality that this burgeoning space is presenting.
I feel like we're our neck of the woods is sort of like the weird like science lab outside of the big city that like all the cool stuff comes from, but like all the normal people who live in the city aren't quite ready for it. And like I feel like Web3 gaming, there's like a whole lot of like really cool, interesting experiments going on in that direction, many of which have been tried like early on by people in our circle and everything. But the shit it's going to get watered down to are some of those really cool concepts from early on that worked, that get repurposed into some crypto light version of like Candy Crush or some shit that's like exactly what you said, like something very familiar and palatable to an audience that has seen stuff like that before. It's just got like a slight like twist on it and everything. And I feel like that's fine, man. It's sort of like the way of the world, in broader spectrum and everything. It's just, as a super fan of the space and, a lot of these brilliant creators in it and everything, you would love to just see what would happen if like someone did throw a mill down on like Jin and was just like, you just go crazy. No worry about like return on investment. Just like do what you can with this money and fucking innovate. Same thing with like Ash and like, some of these people who like, the brains are there to, create like real change in, and they are without like a ton of funding and everything. And so I don't know, man. It's it's easy for me to say without like $1 million to throw down a well to Jin to just fuck around with and everything. But I feel like there's a lot of people with a lot of millions of dollars throwing them down a lot of shitty wells, man. And it's that was always a struggle for me when the space like really blew up. Like just seeing a lot of the people who are the thing get overlooked for like watered down versions of it, but it's the way of the world, man. The people driving the innovation are often not the ones who have the final product for sale on Target shelves or whatever.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, no, just cool to think about. Our neck of the woods is a crazy like science district, like mad science district outside of the big city, just tucked away.
Dude, for sure. I mean, that's you've hung out with these people with me, man. Like these people, I mean, mad scientists. I feel like if there's like the closest modern day equivalent to like mad scientists, it's like our homies in Web3. Like,
dude, talking and think about mad science and folks that we've hung out with in the space for a while. A couple weeks back, I was meeting up with Joy, and VR chat popped up, and of course, like Jim popped up in the conversation because we are going down the VR rabbit hole, and one thing led to another, and like Jin's app to invite folks into VR chat, go around on like excursions, things like that. I was just thinking back to when it was like me, you, Trizlet, I think, and then Jimmy. And we're like riding the couch, going through different worlds in VR chat. And then Joy was like, "Oh, you did that too. That was so crazy." And I was like, "You had the Jin couch experience too. That's wild." Yeah, and it is wild.
It is wild.
Like just like one vignette, like crazy ass vignette, super early on too. On top of everything.
Right. Well, dude, I mean, that sort of like underscores what we're saying. Like, how long ago is that now? 4 or 5 years ago, some shit like that. And like that's how far in front. Yeah. What's that?
Was that 2019 or 2020? Like that's
doesn't even matter. It's, yeah. So then early on, and like, dude, if Jin were to deliver that same experience with someone today who's like not coming in reasonably fresh or whatever in the last year or two, it would blow their minds like right now. That's how far in front a lot of the people are who are in our circles and everything, and it's sort of been their a lot of their plight being too far out in front of things, myself included, both of us included and everything, but it's I've come to live with it on my own in my own head, man. Trying to put it in this larger context of like, you know, the fringiest shit is always on the fringe, and that's sort of what makes it the fringiest shit, because you know, they're there before anybody else got there, and anybody else is really even willing to scratch at it yet and everything, and that's sort of like what inherently makes it cool, and also what inherently, you know, makes other people you know, not understand it or not want to dig that far down, because they're like, well, dude, you're too far out there, until, you know, 4 years go by and everyone's riding on couches and shit, and we're like, fuck, dude, we did that a long time ago.
Yeah, but like really, like anyone that would do that today would have their mind blown again. So
Definitely.
and Jin's still here cooking up all his mad science, Mad Hatter work that he's been doing all along. And that's, again, when you see the legends like that still here, still building, like, and not slowing down, it gives you more fuel in that engine to keep going, keep ticking, keep pushing on.
Dude, there's a great post that sort of is in line with this whole conversation that Ben made a while ago. You know, what Jin's doing with open voxels really doesn't help Ben too much, aside from potentially giving cryptovoxels like more exposure and everything like that. And Ben made some sort of post about like, I don't know if you mentioned Jin specifically, but reading in between the lines, I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about. Someone, you know, building out some sort of engine that, you know, undermines what he's been or has the potential to undermine a lot of what he's been working on all this time. But in the spirit of like, you know, people innovating and being creative or whatever, like, you know, essentially gave them his blessings or whatever. And I'm like, dude, that's fucking cool, man. And is not an attitude that a lot of people have in this space, especially those who came in, you know, later on and everything, of, you know, that's sort of like open source CC0, you know, we're all building our own things, but it's all part of a larger thing kind of mentality. And I don't know, man, that was one of many little reasons that, you know, I've come to love Ben.
Go to Wheat Ridge, Colorado.
What the fuck? Did you hear that?
Something about Colorado.
Yeah, random YouTube player was going on. I was putting down the volume and accidentally hit the fake not real key play button and started playing. I was like, "Where is this fucking coming from?"
One of many open tabs.
I have literally 130 tabs open.
Oh, you gotta be beat.
Madman.
That's another thing I'm trying to do. Cut down a little bit on tabs. I think Stella Cat like currently holds the record. Every now and again I post I have like this many unread DMs and tabs open, and Stella Cat's like takes a screenshot and is like 10x me easily. All right. I'm not fucking with you, Stella Cat.
Dude, you want to segue into the whip this week, talk about the legends that are swinging through?
Yeah, man, this isn't going to help get Lisbon out of my brain. George Boya and Barbie SA coming on the whip this week. Both people who I got a chance to meet and hang out with in Lisbon. Both awesome people, man. And I mean, George Boya is a legend. Going back forever, man, cent days and everything. You know, dude has been around forever. And I mentioned last week, man, just I'd never actually met him before, and just really fun to hang out with. And Barbie was like off my radar, man. She's like, you know, she's in the cult of crypto art. She was out there like displaying art. She's got a lot of like really dope art. She's on Super Rare and like all this shit. And she's like one of these people who I met her out there. And, you know, people were like, oh, you don't know Barbie? And, you know, looked her up on Twitter, and it's like 175 people follow her who I follow or something. It's like, how the fuck has Barbie been off my radar all this time? But anyway, man, I ended up just like hanging out with her. She was like part of the clique that we were, you know, rolling around with over, you know, here and there over the few days I was out there. And, you know, I was like, oh shit, you're an artist too? So it's like, and she like DJ'd something, and you know, just one of these people that's like in our circle, but like totally somehow like off my radar, and vice versa. I think she told someone like Risky was on his way or something, referring to me. So somehow, you know, Barbie and I had blind spots completely. But Barbie's cool peoples, man. What's that?
Risky. I like that. That's not a bad like mistaken way to call you, actually. My
No,
friend
man,
Rick.
Hidden Forces was the risky one to pick around that day.
Shout out Hidden
Uh,
Forces.
Shout out Hidden Forces. I had a great time fucking hanging out with Hidden Forces for a long time
Yep.
over there. Anyway, man, Barbie's great peoples, man, and got to know her pretty good. We hung out a lot in Lisbon. Same thing with George, and it's cool to bring some of these people on, man, who like again are in our circle or in adjacent circles, but never really made their way onto the whip. I want to say George was on like a million years ago, maybe like early on, but it's possible that he's like one of these people that we just assumed always should have been on the whip and just never got him on. So it's a good one, man. This is going to be like an art heavy whip. Two awesome crypto artists. Both were out in Lisbon, both from the cult crypto art, and both people that I'm pretty sure our audience is pretty familiar with. So we're gonna do some giveaways. We've got some stuff in the Whip wallet to give out to our audience. Come up with a little game to play while we're hearing from the speakers, and it should be a good one, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, excited to see like one, obviously the latest creations, but then like see how they're thinking through the ever changing digital art landscape in our neck of the woods. You hear a lot about it on Twitter and things like that, but these are folks, George in particular, just follow their work more closely because they're so prolific and regular. Very curious to see like exactly what they're using, how they're thinking about the changes as of late. So definitely a fun one. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, he's got like a collab project that he's been working on that I know he wants to talk about and everything. So I honestly, man, I'm excited to hear George talk about art because I feel like I got to know him like pretty well, but we didn't talk a ton about art, man. You put me, Metageist, George Boya, Skeeny, and Hidden Forces all in the same room, and we spent like most of the evening just fucking laughing the entire time about stupid shit. It's a good time, man. And that's honestly, man, that's the stuff that I keep having to remind myself of. Like, I'm hanging out with these people as if like I've known them my entire life, man. We're just like cutting up and like fucking around and inherently talking about NFTs and like, fucking speculative protocols and like all this random shit like comes up that everyone's like a super fan of and everything. But like, everyone goes back home and goes into their wizard den and everything. And you got to like almost pinch yourself. You're like, fuck, dude. Like Skeeny's like an incredible artist, man. Skeeny sold through like all his prints when we were out in Lisbon before he had a chance to post on social media on them. And Metageist had whipped up this like AR box that he's like throwing on George Boya's head and like, have that experience of just being able to hang out with these people like good friends. And I'm only naming a few. Barbie's in this conversation as well. But then everyone has their own like superpower or like secret weapon or sauce or whatever that they go home and like do their thing on and come back and meet up again down the line and everything. It's just so wild, man. The eclectic talents, even across the few people that I mentioned, and throw myself into the mix too, man. Everyone's like sort of not really doing the same thing, but it's like somewhat related. But like everyone's just like so crazy talented at like what they're doing. I'm by throwing myself in, I'm giving myself a lot of pat on the backs here, which is part of the ramble, I guess. But it's just so cool to think about, man. Like how incredibly talented the people we have casual like fucking goofy interactions with. Dude, I had a call with Anand earlier today, man. It's fucking great to talk to him again. Another like just brilliant dude, man, who's just been around for a long time and is crazy talented. Had his wild happenings going on a few years ago. But sounds like he wants to come back to the whip and hang out a little bit with the fam. And it's everyone's done. If you've been around this long, man, you've done and been a part of and witnessed just some incredible shit. that's really difficult to articulate to anyone who doesn't understand or hasn't been a part of it.
When you say Anon, you mean Tubador?
But yes, Anand. Yeah. Sorry, am I
Oh,
pronouncing
dude.
his name right? Probably not, man.
Got to reach out to him. That's awesome. Would love to
Should
see
do.
him back at the whip.
Yes,
No,
should.
but yeah, we to pat our backs, we do bump shoulders with just absolute legends. If you look around, it's never gets old. Boom.
No, dude, and it never gets old hearing how much they appreciate what we do. To wrap this up with like a nice pat on our back and everything, like, yeah, that was one of the things that came up for him, man. You know, dude's been out of the space for a little while. You know, he moved and you know whatever is doing his thing, but you know, to hear him appreciate what we're doing and to you know feel like if I feel like coming back into the fray, if I feel like coming back into the space, like this is the place that I'm gonna do it, type of thing, or you know that feels good, man. And it's not he's not the first person, and I'm sure not the last who's been around for a long time who may not have been there for a while, who may not show up every week, but to have that sort of like safe space for you know everyone who's been sort of been through the ringer to come back to and know that you know the fam is still intact and everyone's always welcome to return kind of thing. It's great, man.
Yeah, I love that part about what we do with the whip. But both on like just the whip fam and like even the whip crew level, it's an open revolving door. Like whoever wants to participate can. If they need to dip out because of life, you're still fam, and we meet up and wherever around the world. We give you hugs just the same. If you want to come back and actually do something because you have more time, blah blah blah. Like it's that openness, that like the reliability, I think is huge. In a world and a space that's so quickly changing, projects pop up, get hot, burn out, crash out, disappear, like within a blink of an eye. To be here for years and years and years, like going on half a decade now, I think it's really important. And no plans to stop either. So having that kind of assurance, that place to kind of always that digital home, right? And that digital
Yeah.
family. It's a lot of people use these same words and say community and throw those catchphrases around, but like we live it, we breathe it. And that's what we've built, right? And I think it's fucking beautiful.
It is, dude. There's not a whole lot like it out there, and the longer we do it, the more important it feels, both to me and I think to other people as well. Just sort of having that like consistency. And I won't name names, man, but there's some members of the whip crew from back in the day who, you know, had got other things going on. They did, just like you were saying, life does stuff. But you know, I feel like we keep the door open long enough, man. We'll see some other people walk back in it eventually as well from back in the day, and I look forward to it, man. And anyone else new coming in as well, man. I think. You know, I had this conversation with I think everyone who's sort of come onto the whip crew at some point or another is like, dude, if you want to help us out, fucking do whatever the hell you want. Like literally anything, and like please make it fun for you, because otherwise it's not gonna work out well for you or anybody else. And just fucking come and have fun and everything. And it's a good vibe, and I think sends a good message that like you can come in and contribute as much as you want for the time that you can, and then you can duck out and no one's going to judge you. And then if you can come back and do it again, it will be appreciated, because everyone's just here doing it to do it when they can, you know?
Amen. Amen. Dude, I think that's a perfect place to leave it. Pulling on the heartstrings, pulling on the nostalgia. I love it. And the mission.
Yeah, man. I'm recording an episode with Jenny from the Block a little bit later today, which I'm kind of excited about. I don't like often, you know, usually I'm the host of the things, except when I get to bullshit with you on a weekly basis. So it's kind of fun when the table's turned. I know her from a distance, but I'm not as as a podcaster, really don't listen to any podcast. It's not offense to anybody. It's more of a time thing and a patience thing and everything. So I'm coming into it a little bit blind and don't know what to expect other than I'm kind of excited to do something different and see how it goes, and appreciate her sliding into my DMs with the invite and everything. So shout out Jenny from the block.
Is that going to be live, or like is it going to be previously recorded and released later?
I don't know, man.
Going into it blind.
Yeah, you know how I roll. It's in 40 minutes, man. I'll figure it out.
There we go. All right, well, I'll let you get your next cup of coffee for that. And we'll see you in the metaverse tomorrow with George and Barbie.
Good shit. Hell yeah,
Cool.
man.
Later, dude.
All right. Later, man.
Cool. Thanks for listening, Dragonate's mom and Dragonate. Catch y'all later.